Hello, I'm Sue Hillis, a board member of Women in Politics. Women in Politics has launched the 2020 Ask Her campaign as part of an effort to encourage women to consider running for office in an upcoming election at any level of government. This campaign's primary goal is to support all women who would like to become involved with politics by sharing their experiences, perspectives, and advice from other women who've been in their shoes. Our interviews, which will be shared online as well as cataloged as podcasts, will feature women who have previously run for office at various levels of government. We'll hear from women who previously served in public office, from current elected officials, and women who ran in the past. All will offer their advice and experience to help inspire other women to enter the race. Above all, we want to achieve the goal of having more women's voices at decision-making tables. Today, we welcome Councillor Anna Hopkins from the City of London. So, Councillor Hopkins, tell me about the moment that you decided to run.
That moment. I think there's a lot of things that lead up to that moment. And one of them is that you are engaged in your community. Having an understanding is really important to knowing if you should or shouldn't go. I do think personally it has to be a commitment that you make when it comes to running. And I mean 100%, because it's not easy. And with that, there is that support that you need from your family and from people around you, because you can't do this on your own. It is a mountain that you have to climb to campaign. But more important, it's the commitment that you make to yourself. It's got to be there. For me, I don't think it helps anyone, regardless who you are, if you go in it, well, we'll just see if I'm going to win or not, or just be very casual about it. You do have to believe that you, not so much that you're going to change everything, but that you want to be part of that change.
So what do you think was the biggest hurdle then that you had to overcome in order to commit, to make that commitment to running?
Yeah, the hurdle is, it's coming to that realization that you want to do this and that you're committed, and you get that realization from people that support you. My family, it was very important to me, even though my children had grown up, but my partner, I needed his support, because without that, I needed someone to prop me up, and having that relationship and someone believing in me, but also the people that you worked with, having them want to help you. You can't, like I said, do this on your own. You do need that. And then when you commit and you have that support, then you do it.
So tell me about your expectations leading up to your campaign, and did your experience line up with those expectations, or how did it differ? If you could remember back. I know it's a while ago now when you first started.
So I've done 2 campaigns, but I have been involved in community activism, whatever you want to call it, for 30 years. I have worked on other people's campaigns, and that is really important as well, because when you don't get paid working on a campaign, and when you are working for other people, you understand that work and that commitment. And then when it's your turn, you need the people around you to make that happen. So moving forward is, you need these things in place, because you can't do it on your own. I think that is the number one thing. But having some experience in working for other people, understanding a lot of energy goes into that, and it is a time commitment as well. You need time to go about, and you have to hit that pavement. And for me, it is all about connecting with people, getting out, getting them to know who you are at the door is very important, and that takes a lot of time and energy and running shoes and you can't kind of go into this going, well, I'll put in an hour here and I'll see if I got an hour to spare the next day. You do have to have some organization, and that's where you need people helping you out, just like you help them out. You understand it? It's like giving and taking.
Were there any particular barriers that you faced as a woman in your campaign?
Oh, so I'll just take the two campaigns that I ran on. So it would be the 2010 election and then the 2014 election, sorry, and the 2018 election. To me, they were very, very different. The 2010, even though it was my first campaign that I went on, it wasn't as divisive at the door. The issues were more broad, general. We talked about the London plan. We talked about visions for the city. 2018, it was one issue I heard at the door, which was BRT. And it was very divisive, which created this lack of respect. If you were, those loud voices started to come out. We weren't listening to one another as much. That's what I mean about being divisive. It was harder to, I'm a big believer in that we don't all have to agree, but we can respect each other. And I found that was starting to fray a little bit. It wasn't, it was tougher to get out there. And as a woman, my voice isn't loud, and I had to make it loud. I had to project and try to educate as well. There's a lot of misinformation out there, unbelievable, on what our policies are and where the city is going. So there was a lot of information that I had to give residents when I was campaigning. So they understood. We talked about ranked ballots during that time as well. There's a lot of changes going on, but it was very divisive where you're at the door and it's like, go away. Not interested. It's as if I'm a salesperson, but we have to listen to one another. That is so important, and it was tougher to do.
Do you think you have any experiences now that you're in office the last couple of times, that is your experience different because you're a woman?
Okay, great question. So campaigning, maybe not so much as much, but what happens when you're in office? That becomes, then what? Then what do you do? How do you hold on to your voice? That for me was very challenging. The campaign is all more physical work. And probably some candidates would say that's where all the work is, and once you're in, you're fine. As a woman, that's when your work starts, almost. And how are you going to develop relationships with your colleagues? How are you going to hold on to your voice? Because for me, it was taken away during the first couple years. I kind of lost it. And I've been involved in volunteering in organizations and groups. It was like, what? And I'm old. Like, what do you mean I've lost my voice? But somehow it can get taken away from, because you're trying to figure your way through. You're trying to understand the policies. You're trying to work with your colleagues. You're developing relationships and friendships. And sometimes maybe the friends that you think are there may not be your friends either. And it kind of takes a while. And then when you are sitting on certain boards, committees, there's a lot of work that you need to understand. You can't come in and just go, for me, vote on something and not really understand what I'm voting. So there's a lot of hard work that goes into reading reports, understanding where we're going, and you get your voice back, but you have to work on that. And when you get your voice back, you got to hold on to it. And that to me is what is important. And it's not just so much the gender, which is, I'm a woman, that's the only way I can look at things, but it's also, you know, that diversity and inclusivity that has to be looked at when it comes to your voice and your values. It becomes broader. You can't just, you know, have that narrow look. And you can hold on to it, but it's not easy. It takes courage. It takes patience and time, and being focused on it, not feeling that you don't know anything, and not being manipulated. You have to kind of get back to, no, I think I've got this. I understand it. I'm open to your opinion. Let's debate it. Let's discuss it. But hold on to that, because it can so easily be taken away. And when you look at your colleagues, that you may think their voices may be being manipulated, how do you support them? Shouldn't get upset with them, but how do you support them as well? And you can support, I think, female colleagues in particular, but all colleagues on trying to understand what's happening, and not alienating, but trying to, you know, just be kind.
So what advice or guidance would you offer a woman who's just starting to think about running for political office?
Maybe the advice would be, why are you running? It's a tough question to ask, believe it or not, because that was a question that was asked to me, and I had to think about that, because you know, you hear a lot of voices, and then you do something, and then when you're asked, why did you run? It's not that clear. I think you just have to believe that if it's important, understand the reasons why, understand your voice that you can bring to the table, and then make sure you get support. Again, you can't do this on your own.
So following up on that, then, you mentioned your partner and your family. What other supports did you receive that were most helpful or most important to you, and how did you go about getting those supports?
Well, you know, I've been around a lot, so I've been involved in the community. I can go back to home and school associations, sports clubs. I'm a longtime member of the Urban League of London, community associations. All those things tend to add up. And then for me, I was involved in a large development right next door to me for about 15 years. And when the council of the day made that decision, I realized that I knew something about that what happened. I didn't agree with their decision. And it was, okay, we can agree to disagree, but then what am I going to do with all of this? And I put it into use and ran. And I had the support of my partner in particular, because you are away. I was fortunate enough, I didn't have, my three boys were men. I worked part-time, but it was, you know, one of those great jobs that you can kind of hide into and relax in, and you call it a job. But campaigning is a lot of hard work, and you're away a lot. And you need people help. You can't do everything on your own. So you've got to get like, it's just that core group that can help you along. And it's, again, it takes a lot of work. And you can't be afraid of a lot of work.
So, as our kind of last question, is there anything going back to pre when you started to think about running, or just as you were starting to think about that, as you say, when that development happened, is there anything that you would change about what happened after that, or anything you would do differently, thinking back on it now with your hindsight?
No, but well, yeah. I didn't realize how important my relationships were, and more important, sometimes you take this journey along the way, and then all of a sudden you realize, okay, I'm going to run, and that journey, you don't realize how important that journey was, and um, you go back to the people that you met along the way, and you start to realize that they start to believe in you, and it's I didn't realize at the time how important that was. Reflecting back, that is everything, because now
Thank you.
I'm 6 years in my term. I'm not out there as much as I used to be, and that journey. But I and anything that you do for your community is important, and those little things build up along the way, and realizing the importance of that, because that is where you're going to get your support.
Thank you. We appreciate your time today. I'm sure it's going to be very helpful to lots of other women.
I hope so. Thank you so much for doing this.